It's been a terrible bear market, or has it? Here's what you need to know before the bell. A lot of interesting comments of late about the bear market, and it's been a terrible year or so in the markets, and it's going to get worse because of this reason or that reason. It's interesting, of course, when you actually step back and look at the markets, what the markets have actually been doing, because it's far different than what you would expect. If you were just reading headlines, you would think that, well, it's been pretty much terrible shape. But is it? Well, just recently, of course, we've been talking about this very nice rally that we've had from the mid-March lows. And of course, it's something we had talked about previously, adding exposure to the portfolio. Now markets kind of starting to stall out here, a little bit of exhaustion on this rally. Not surprising. That's how markets work. They go both up and down. That's how markets do this over time. And here we are now with a very close to a MACD sell signal, which suggests that we could have a little bit of downside to the markets here, a little bit of relaxation in this price advance. That wouldn't be surprising at all. Lots of support below current levels, of course, for the markets to deal with. But again, when we take a look back at where we've just been this year, markets are pretty much at the highs of this year so far. A nice sideways pattern, of course, this year as well. Coming out of the December sell-off, markets have rallied, but then just kind of been stuck here over the last several months. But interestingly enough, when we go back and start looking at the markets longer term, we can see that markets really haven't gone anywhere since really October of last year. But it's even more so than that. If we go back even further, markets haven't really gone anywhere since the last couple of years. And again, we're kind of at the same level we were back in May of 2021 at this point, and markets are still at that same level. So despite all this commentary that we've had such a terrible bear market over the last couple of years, yes, markets are down. That is true, but you have to really put this in context of where we came from. Again, a very, very big advance in the markets following what happened in 2020 because of the pandemic shutdown, $5 trillion worth of stimulus, $120 billion a month in QE. We came out of this big decline. Now remember, this was a 35% decline in the market in a month back in March of 2020. And again, now it hardly even looks like a blip on the radar because of the magnitude of the advance in the markets that we had from that level. And this is an important point when you start talking about the Federal Reserve. From the Federal Reserve's point of view, the market is still well intact. In fact, markets are still well above where they were at the peak of the market in 2019. The wealth effect still clearly intact. And all that's happened here really is that after this massive advance, markets have just corrected some of that over advance in the markets that we had. That exuberance has been pulled out of the markets here. But outside of that, markets remain in a very bullish pattern over time. Markets are rising. The trend is up. You've had about a 6% annualized rate of return over the last 6 years. And again, that's exactly what the Fed would expect. This is why the Fed is not overly concerned about financial issues with the markets while they're hiking interest rates. They're more concerned about inflation. And that's likely going to continue to be the case. For investors, it's important to remember where you came from. There's certainly been some weakness in the market over the last year or so, but on a longer term basis, the bull market remains firmly intact. The market has done nothing wrong here that would suggest that anything other than just a correction in the market has occurred. And the trend of the market still remains bullishly biased. And we have to consider that in our investment allocations and how we manage our money. Despite all the headlines of massive negativity, markets continue to perform on a more bullish manner. I'm your host, Lance Roberts, and that's what you need to know before the bell.